It's time to change the conversation about mental health.
When you know something is wrong.
When you feel alone.
When you can't explain what hurts.
When every day is a struggle.
When you can't ask for help.
When your friend or family member seems fine on the outside,
but hurt on the inside.
Sometimes I feel as though I'm the only one that feels. But I know that's not true.
We can change.
We can change.
We can change.
We can make a difference.
There's power in our difference.
We can support each other.
We can fight stigma.
We say it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay to have a mental health condition.
We all want to feel heard.
To find hope.
And to live in a world without stigma.
Without discrimination.
And we are a force to be reckoned with.
I am not what happened to me.
I am how I overcame it.
Stand with us.
And discrimination in mental health.
You can see the person, not the condition.
You can build understanding.
You can play your part.
The conversation changes with me.
With me.
With me.
We are well-beings.
We are all well-beings.
Day is long and the night is yours alone. When you're sure you've had enough of this life, hang on. Don't let yourself go, 'cause everybody cries and everybody hurts sometimes. Sometimes everything is wrong. It's time to sing along. When your day is night, hold on, hold on. If you feel like letting go, hold on. If you feel like letting go, hold on. If you feel like letting go. 'Cause everybody hurts. Don't throw your hand. Oh, no. Don't throw your hand. Oh.
WETA, with a coalition of partners, welcomes you to the Well-Being's Youth Mental Health Project. Hi, I'm Bill Pullman, and I'm honored to be with you as we launch this national campaign from public media. Well-Being's is a groundbreaking project at a very important point in time. Mental illness disproportionately affects our young people and the most disadvantaged populations among us. The growing mental health movement has set the stage for dramatic change, to raise awareness, to reduce stigma, to focus on prevention and early intervention, and the promise of more research for new treatments. Together, we can bring mental illness and discrimination out of the shadows, and it's not a day too soon. So thank you for being here today.
I'm Deontay Damper, your host for this evening as we address the mental health of Black youth. This event is being recorded and will be available for viewing at wellbeings.org/KCTS. Thank you for joining us for KCTS 9's live stream event as a part of National PBS Well-Beings Tour on youth mental health. The Well-Beings campaign addresses the critical health needs in America through public content, original digital content, and impactful local events. The event begins with the Youth Mental Health Project, engaging youth voices to create national conversation, raise awareness, address stigma and discrimination, and encourage compassion. It was created by WETA, the public media station based in Washington, D.C., in partnership with member stations such as KCTS 9. Thanks to many national partners and sponsors, as well as local partners in Western Washington, including NAACP Snohomish County and the Communities of Color Coalition for providing funding and support for this local live stream event. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm coming to you from traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish people. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the Duwamish tribe. I encourage everyone watching to find out the history of the land, of where you live, play, and work. Acknowledgement is just the first steps in resisting the erasure of the indigenous histories of working towards honoring and inviting the truth. Before we go any further, I'd like to show you a special message from two very important people who helped plan this event.
Hello, I'm Ashley McGirt, the president and founder of the Washington Therapy Fund Foundation.
And hi, everyone. I'm Fernell Miller, founder and CEO of The Root of Us, parent organization of The Root of Our Youth. Welcome.
Our organizations are proud programming partners for this event, and we appreciate the input of the countless other organizations and community members throughout the planning process. The Washington Therapy Fund Foundation was founded in an effort to eliminate some of the barriers to Black healing in direct response to the incessant police brutality and anti-Blackness. The Washington Therapy Fund was birthed. Our mission is to alleviate the burden of cost and burden of discount to both the Black clients and the therapists who serve them. We seek to grant free therapy services to those within the Black community who are in need and suffering from racial trauma, anxiety, depression, and other ailments.
And a little bit about the Root of Our Youth, which is a youth advocacy, empowerment, youth voice-centered organization that provides healing spaces for youth through racial healing circles, through empowerment groups, through podcasts and newsletters. And we just welcome all of the youth tonight to gather these resources and tools to help you with your mental health and healing. And we just want you to know that we see you, we support you, and you are not alone.
And to the adults, family, community members watching, we encourage you to listen to the voices of the young people tonight and listen to the voices of the young people in your lives. They need your support. They need your love. Enjoy this event. Back to you, Deontay.
Thanks, Ashley. I'm proud to be a part of WA Therapy Fund Foundation as your board VP. PBS NewsHour student reporting lab reporters and alumni are here to share more about the Well-Being campaign and its mission to demystify and destigmatize our physical and mental health through storytelling.
The signature documentary series in the Wellbeings campaign is Ken Burns Presents Hiding in Plain Sight, Our Mental Health Crisis. Produced and directed by Ewers Brothers Productions and written by David Blistein, the film will explore, through lived experiences, the youth mental health crisis in our country. Currently in production, this 4-hour documentary film is slated to air on PBS stations in spring 2022.
Wellbeings.org and hashtag Wellbeings will be adding content every week over the 2 years, including Brave Teens, where teen storytellers go on the record about their mental health journeys.
And Brave High, a digital feature-length documentary where students in high school productions share their mental health stories through spoken word, music, and dance without fear, shame, or stigma.
Out of the Dark, a short-form digital series that will profile lives transformed by mental health challenges, highlighting the power of difference.
PBS NewsHour's Student Reporting Labs engage high school journalism students as correspondents that report on youth mental health from more than 150 high schools across 46 states.
All right, y'all. We got about an hour and a half, so make yourself comfortable this evening. We got some great speakers to talk to you about the issues facing Black youth and some of the barriers that come in between the way. And most above all, making sure that we get help. We also want to talk about the organizations out there to provide the resources and support on how to help people find creative ways to cope with healing. Please feel free to join us in the chat box with questions in the chat box so you can be a part of the discussion. Now, let me introduce you to some of my friends. I have Mia Dabney, a member of the NAACP Youth Coalition. I have Sir Keenan Hart. He's also a program participant for Glover Empowerment Mentoring, also known as GEM. I have Kendrick Glover, the founder and executive director of GEM, and my girl, Tony Williams, a solution-based mental health therapist. All right, y'all. So let's get into the first topic. Living in a white supremacist society, dealing with racism, the trauma of police brutality, and Black people just being murdered. There's a lot to unpack. Now, Mia and Sir Keenan, how does this affect you in your day-to-day? Mia, you first.
For me, I think it's really interesting because no matter what we do, no matter what direction we go in life, we're growing up in this mindset of a white supremacist mindset. And we can't get away from it because that is the society we've been raised to live in. And it's really difficult to step out of those boundaries because you can be seen as bad in the societal ways of a white man in that mindset. So it's really difficult to be able to be like, this is wrong. I need to move forward. I need to change. And it's also difficult because you can feel the pain and the death of every Black person that has died and the ones who have come before us. You can feel it on your back. You can feel it in your heart. Every day you feel it. And it's a constant feeling that you have to learn how to take care of because it impacts you every single day.
Thank you very much. That was so real. So Keenan.
Yeah, one way that it has impacted me a lot was one time, like a few years ago, I remember it was me and my dad. He told me to go in the store real quick to go buy some snacks because we was in a rush. Mm-hmm. And I went to go run around the store real quick because I was in a rush. I had like 30 minutes to get to my grandma's because we were about to go watch a movie marathon. Mm-hmm. So I go get my snacks. I go to the front. I pay for everything. And like the person's like, all right, you're able to go. So I run out the store with my car with all my stuff. And I just remember like one person just running in front of me, stopping me, like jumping in front of my cart. And it was like, try to take my stuff. It was like, you didn't pay for this. You're trying to steal. Oh, you're in the bad. It was trying to take my stuff away. And like, I know if I was alone, I would be taken advantage of. Luckily, my dad, he was like standing outside of the car. So he seen it and he had to come in and was like, hey, my son just paid for this. And he showed him the receipt because he like grabbed it in the bag. Like, just the fact that people just thinking that you're stealing because you're in a rush just because of the color of my skin. Because like everybody bees in a rush in a store sometimes. just because I was by myself, I was taken advantage of. And luckily, I had my dad there to just like check in and was like, see, this is what we're talking about. This is a world that you are going to grow up in. You have to be ready for situations like this.
Man, thank you for sharing that. That is great. That's a great. What I heard through that, and I'm receiving is just the fact that your father showing up for you in that space, which is amazing. And I know that one thing that we didn't discuss, therapy. Therapy can be a great option with processing, learning, and how to thrive in the world, as well as good parents like yours, Sir Keenan. But has anyone ever heard of Black people don't go to therapy or anything similar? How do we overcome like that stigma around that through therapy and or counseling? Now, audience, I know that it's been a while. I'm glad that you are all here. Give a shout out in the chat and answer this. How can we normalize therapy? Now, while they're doing that, I have to switch gears and go to my friend Tony. Now, Tony, young people who may be interested in therapy, they may be a little anxious about it. Now, what does a session look like with youth in that space?
Usually sessions consist of open dialogue, transparent conversation where the therapist is able to build rapport with their client in conversations about things that they've been feeling, anxieties, therapeutic goals, or it may even look as though it's a family session where parents are coming in with their youth to talk about some of the things that they've been having to endure. That could be from childhood trauma to societal trauma, when what they're being able to see on a regular basis. I've had a lot of parents reach out in regards to just wanting their student or their client or their child to have conversations about what's been going on in American society when it comes to systemic racism, when it comes to being stuck in the house due to COVID-19, but making sure that we're having conversations with our kids about what's going on in the world, having transparent conversations, making sure that they have a safe space to articulate what feelings are coming up for them, and being able to say that therapy is normal. Other races are seeking therapy and have been doing it for generations, but making sure we're being intentional in our community about releasing that stigma of having someone to talk to, and it's not going to be a label, more so a space where you're able to unpack that you're going through on a regular basis.
Oh, Tony, thank you. Now, how many clinicians or therapists do we have in the state that cater to that also are contracted within the spaces for the youth or able to?
So as of right now, percentage-wise, we're probably about 35%. That's just because there are a lot of clinicians who choose to work with only adults or elderly or whatever population that they see fit. But if youth are looking for therapeutic services, there are a plethora of resources that they can seek in regards to finding a therapist that's a good fit. Psychology Today, Therapy for Black Girls, and using those platforms to kind of seek out consultations and just to get your feet wet to see what's out there. There's pictures, there's profiles, just so youth can see what therapists may be a right fit for them.
For Black youth in particular, one of the barriers to getting help is not having healthcare providers who look like them. From any of the young youth watching and thinking, how do I get into this type of work when I get older? Jagger Barrington, a student from Ballard High School, interviewed Dr. Bongba to find out.
Hello, I'm Jagger Barrington, a student reporter at Ballard High School in Seattle, Washington. Student Reporting Labs is partnered with Wellbeings on this important youth mental health initiative. One of Wellbeing's key partners is Kaiser Permanente, and I am here with Kaiser Permanente psychiatrist right here in Seattle, Dr. Mabel Bongba. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Mabel.
Thanks for having me, Jagger.
How can someone tell if a mental health provider is good for their needs, and what's most important?
I think the most important thing is to feel that someone is really listening to you. You have to feel comfortable and respected when talking about your health in general, but especially when talking about sensitive matters. Oftentimes depression and anxiety can be pretty isolating experiences. So The person that might be a good listener might reflect back to you the concerns that you've raised and shared some steps that will help you get closer to feeling better. That's a couple ways to know that that might be someone who's a good fit for you.
Why do you think it's so hard for Black young people to find counselors who look like them?
One thing that we could see more of here are more opportunities for people to be educated and trained in the mental health professions. I'm a psychiatrist. I'm someone who's gone through medical training and with the combination of therapy and prescription medications, help people with their mental health concerns, such as depression and anxiety, which are really common. But there's so many professionals in the mental health field. So that includes therapists, psychologists, all sorts of counselors, including addiction focused counselors, our health career pathways, or programs that can help people get involved, maybe at a middle school level or even a high school or college level. And it gives them a chance to get exposed to people in different health professions, including mental health.
How do we encourage more young people to get into the mental health field?
You know, I'm one of those kids, or I was one of those kids, I should say, who knew really early on that she wanted to be a doctor. I knew I wanted to help people. I really liked school. So it just seemed like a natural fit and it stuck with me. But it wasn't until I was already in my medical training that I thought about psychiatry. And I think that really is a reflection of how representation and exposure are so important. Sometimes we have situations where we are supporting a loved one through a mental health crisis. That can be really frightening sometimes, but also a way to get involved, especially if you're in a community where people are open and supportive of folks going through a difficult time.
Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Mabel.
Thanks, Jagger. Have an awesome rest of your school year.
Thank you, Dr. Bomba and Jagger. Now, there are several organizations that can help connect Black youth to Black therapists, including Wild Therapy Fund Foundation, the Washington Counselors of Color Network, and Therapy for Black Girls. All right, panelists. All right, here we go. This is a lightning round question, all right? So what's your favorite thing to do when you need a mental health break for the world? Let's go with my girl Mia first.
I think my favorite thing that I like to do is to journal. I think it's really beneficial just to write out your thoughts and then what you want to do moving forward and what you're grateful for that you already have. So you know that at the end of the day, I know that I have this and I can always have that and move forward. So that's something that I always love to do, to journal, write about my feelings and just let it out.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. All right. Sir Keenan, what you do?
Two things I do is that I go to my speaker and I just turn up my music really loud, or I go to my notebook and I just start journaling things that first come to mind, rather portraits of things, like little words of the day that I learned, anything like that.
Well, that is so motivating. Tony?
So I'm a mani-pedi girl. So that's my self-care is definitely the nails, and then the hair. So self-care is always around aesthetics for me. So anytime that I can take away from my busy schedule to do what I do best, which is nails and hair, then that's what I'm doing.
Okay, and Mr. Glover, what you do?
For me, it's more about rest and relaxation through meditation. So just going in my room, shutting the lights off and just really getting in the zone to just kind of think about what's going on in my daily life and just being at peace with myself, blocking out the negative energy.
I love that, blocking out that negative energy. I know that a lot of us have been going through that, especially our youth. So there are actually a lot of organizations that help young people find creative and productive ways to cope and heal. Actually, here's one.
Hi, my name is Maya Rountree, and I am representing Powerful Voices. I have been working with Powerful Voices for about 2.5 years. This year I will make 3. Powerful Voices creates brave spaces for girls of color to take charge of their own power as leaders, igniting their abilities to confidently express themselves, build community, and act against injustices affecting their lives. In my poetry, I talk about racism, discrimination. I talk about romance. That's one of my main themes because I love romance. I talk about mental health a lot. And those are all just subjects that are important. Those are important, not only to me, but they should be important to everybody else. This poem is called Days Like This by Maya Rountree, myself. There are days where I wake up and feel the need to do nothing but breathe, where the sun shines down on my face, peeking through my window, and like a Romeo and Juliet story, it all feels forbidden. Days like this, I take time to myself, to tend for myself, care for myself, to deal with my mental health, because that's what I need. Sometimes my therapy is makeup. Megan Thee Stallion blasted on 100, where the only thing that sees me is my camera. Days like this, I get ready with no purpose, no questions asked, and if there are, I dismiss them like a teacher dismisses students, because who are you to question me when all I want to do is feel good? There are days where I'm patient, where the voice of others is my music, where the sight of you is my muse. But there are also days where I question your audacity to question me because y'all be having me all the way. Anyways, there are days where my bed is my best friend, where my TV is my right hand, and what about it? Days where I work out, days where I try hard, days where I lurk accounts, and days where my tears fall. There are days harder to recover from, where the weight of the world is on my shoulders and where I can't breathe becomes a meme because the people like me really can't breathe because for some reason my life's just trending. There are days where I need to rant and everyone seems out of reach. But there are also days when you reach out and we do nothing but release, where the universe is my comfort and where my voice is my home.
Oh, that was so good. And see, that's what I do when I want to like chill. I listen to Megan Thee Stallion when I want to chill out as well. Actually, I did that for my friend's birthday this weekend. But we have an audience question, y'all. It's from my friend Mary Dale Williams. What can we do to improve in regards to substance abuse and treatment for youth, especially marijuana being normalized and how this treatment is stigmatized in the Black community? Tony, Kendrick?
Oh, yeah. I think having those open-ended conversations to where youth are feeling as though they're not being served, and why they're feeling as though marijuana or drug use is a choice of self-medicating. So getting to the root of that. A lot of that comes from unmet needs, not processing thoughts that have come across their mind, or things that they've experienced growing up. So getting to the root of the matter of what is causing the drug abuse, then getting in a space to where you're talking about those issues and moving forward to say, okay, we need to go ahead and loop in a professional so that we can make sure that we get this nipped in the bud so it doesn't spiral or snowball into something bigger. Because oftentimes, since marijuana is attainable here in Washington State, let's just be honest,
Yes.
A lot of youth are using it as a source of self-medicating because they may have symptoms of depression or other mental health issues that aren't being addressed. So making sure that, okay, granted, yes, it's accessible, but is that going to be what you're going to as a solution, or is that going to make this problem larger? So making sure you're having those conversations with your youth, and then looping in that professional to get to the root of the matter, and then making sure you're not normalizing them talking about their issues so that the therapist is something that they're using on a regular basis, as well as then getting the treatment plan going on and making sure it's meeting your youth's needs.
Right. Now, Mia, do you talk about this with your friends?
Yeah, I think me and my friends do have often conversations about how the history of just substance abuse and just why do some people that we know choose to do it and the deeper issues they come from. And I think for me, it's really important that I have those conversations with my friends because I'm like, I'm seeing different perspectives of why some people do that and getting to the real issue, like was said before, like what is the root of the issue and where does it come from?
I love that. Sir, what about you?
One thing that me and my friends do talk a lot about when it comes to like drugs, because like there's some people around me that use drugs just to do it, and I had to distance myself from them. Then I also had the friends of mine where they used it, but they used it because they're going through something, but they didn't have someone to talk to. And a lot of my friends, they know that I'm somebody you could talk to a lot, so it's rather that they talk to me and they're rather not on it as much, or they completely stop. Like one of my friends probably stopped smoking because they started talking to me a little more about it for now like a year, and she's really happy about it because she was like, "Thank you a lot. I didn't know why I was even doing it in the first place."
See, that's what I'm talking about. See, and we need more friends like you. When I was in high school, I needed friends like you. And the thing also to even go on then, and I'm so glad that we have leaders like Sir and Mia on the phone as well, on the screen right now as well, because Wellbeing and KCTS 9 has actually put together a mental health resource kit. Local and national resources that'll be available for you or someone that you care about that might be facing some mental health challenges. The toolkit can be found at wellbeings.org/KCTS9. And also, if you're in crisis or need support now, here's some immediate resources for you. Some people are hesitant to call a crisis line because they think it'll be awkward, or they won't be talking to someone who looks like them. What are some of the alternatives to walk yourself back from the edge in crisis? Most important thing is to stay alive.
For me, when I'm working with young people, giving them some alternative solutions to walking away from the edge of crisis would be some of the things we just talked about. Just having conversations with someone who you trust and you know that will give you some good advice. Also talking to that person about some of the mental health issues that you may be facing, because if you don't talk about it, it becomes one of those issues where it's compacted and compiled on one thing on top of another, and then it becomes that tipping point, that boiling point. And when it boils over, that frustration and anger, it turns out, it lets loose on whoever is around. And that person or those people may not be the beneficiaries of that anger and frustration. And then you could, hurt someone, lose a friend and things like that. So just having some conversations with people that you trust, a mentor, a family member, or a friend of the family.
Or gym empowerment. Just want to throw that in there. Tony, what about you?
I think it's important to be proactive rather than reactive. So making sure, and I use this strategy a lot with my clients, is making sure you know your triggers. So if you know a certain situation is going to trigger you, or a certain person, or there's still areas where you have not addressed in your life, how about be proactive rather than reactive and communicate that there are areas that I'm still working on and that I need to work on within myself. And so I'm not even going to put myself in those positions. And putting yourself in those positions, what will happen, and communicating that to your peers or your friends or your family members so that they can also be proactive in making sure that they're not putting you in those situations too. So that proactive rather than reactive saves a lot of stress and a lot of crises too. And also having a crisis plan is important too. Once you come into therapy and you know that you have, let's say, for example, a diagnosis that you are working off of, making sure your family members and your friends around you or your loved ones know what your crisis plan looks like, what they can do to make sure that they are not magnifying a situation, but rather escalating a situation if it comes up when you are not within the space of your mental health therapist. So making sure you're being proactive, having those documents, those treatment plans, keeping those sticky notes around to remind yourself of what to do when you do have those thoughts. But yeah, making sure that you are reflective and you know what you need and how to get your needs met.
I love that. Proactive instead of reactive. A crisis plan. I love it. Thank you very much. Okay, y'all, so we're gonna move to the next topic. I don't know if y'all heard about it, COVID-19. We all actually have went through this pandemic, and I think it's safe to say that it has affected the mental health of everyone. And there's actually a remote learning, and you're actually in self-isolation. And then on top of all of that, you're worried about getting the virus. I mean, not even being able to go to work. I've been there, etc. add being Black to the mix of all those challenges because of the effects of systematic racism in our schools, our government, our healthcare system. So to our king and queen panelists, Sir Keenan and Mia, what has been your biggest mental health challenge related to COVID?
For me, I would say, I think when the pandemic hit, I had the hardest time just like stepping back because I did so many activities and it was just like, I don't get to do those anymore. So just learning to be like, that's not happening anymore. Like the system we're living in is different. It's changed and it will forever be changed. And I had to learn how to separate the student me and like me as a human being. And I didn't understand the difference between that. And I think that really took a toll on me for a while because I only saw myself as like a person and I need to get this, and this and done. But I needed to focus on what made me happy other than focusing on my future. I need to be in the moment. I have to be present. And I had to do a lot of reflecting on what do I want to see. And I can't always be focusing on my future if I'm not there in the present. So learning how to separate me as a student and then me as a person who just wants to be happy and to love myself, that was the biggest thing that I had to focus on in this time.
Oh, you speaking my life, you know. I mean, that was beautiful, Mia. Thank you very much for sharing, Sir Keenan.
Some of the few biggest things that impacted me when the COVID first started happening was just really readjusting to like being home all the time. Like I love my family, but being home and all of that, it's just so much harder than just like focusing and like dividing like Mia said, like your regular life and school, because you have to do that all in one area now. Then another thing that really kind of hurt me a lot in the beginning was not being able to like play sports and all of that, because sports, especially like football and stuff, was like my time away from like life, just my free zone, just to be me and be whoever, whether if I'm running the ball or I'm tackling someone. It's just my time to just be me and not have to think about anything. But just having to readjust and be like, all right, let COVID pass. Then when football comes back around or basketball, I'm in there and I'm about to be ready for it.
Right.
No, that's right. Now I want to switch back to Mia real quick. Now, Mia, can you talk a little bit about the work that you do with the NAACP Youth Council and the opportunities for improving mental health education and support in the schools? I heard a little bit about it. Can you tell the audience about it today?
Yeah, so one of our demands is to increase opportunities and mental health services into schools because it's so important. And also financial literacy because we have to actually know how to use our money and all that stuff. But currently we're just working on opening up the conversation. I think it's so important just to have the conversation. Why does the word mental health scare people? And why don't we have it in our classrooms? Why are we not educating students in the proper way about how to take care of ourselves? And what does mental health actually mean? So currently we're working on that. And then we do have a couple other projects we're working on, such as incorporating music into our plans of how to bring this to like the school board and everyone else. So we're just currently working on bringing awareness to how important mental health and just the process of that is into our students' lives, because it's so important.
Yes, it is important. I'll tell you, the youth stay busy. Thank you so much. And the Youth Council, shout out to Miss Rita Green. Now, out there, audience, like in the chat, let us know the hits or misses you've experienced related to actually schools' approach towards mental health. What they could work on, what even us as parents or uncles or aunties can work on in the space to advocate for you in the spaces of school. Dr. Okoye, Director of JED High School Implementation at the JED Foundation, one of Wellbeing's national partners, spoke with student reporter Jagger Barrington about their works in this space.
Hello and welcome. I'm Jagger Barrington, a student reporter at Ballard High School in Seattle, Washington. Student Reporting Labs has partnered with the Wellbeings on this important national youth mental health initiative. I'm speaking with Riema Okoye of the JET Foundation. How do you define anti-racism, and what anti-racist strategies do you teach to organizations and schools that you work with?
Yeah, thank you for your question, Jagger. So anti-racism is about systems and structures. It's not necessarily about the people within them. It's about making sure that the systems are equipped for all students that were in them. So when we're working with schools to enhance their overall ability to support emotional health and prevent suicide with young people, particularly students of color, we want to make sure that they are equitably implementing the JET High School approach. So that means that they are not just thinking about the students for whom school is really easy for and for the structures have been designed for, but they're also thinking about the students for who might be from underrepresented groups and for those systems and structures haven't been created for. So creating systems and structures with those students in mind and with those students' voices at the front really helps us to do that and push this model of equitable implementation.
What kind of feedback has your work gotten from Black students, good and bad?
Right. So we started working with schools in the fall, and that was coming out of a really high time of racial tension in the country. So we don't work directly with students. We work with schools to build their capacity to work with students. And one of the ways that we work with them and have worked with them in the past is by building an interdisciplinary team. And one of the things that we push them to do is make sure that that interdisciplinary team is diverse and includes students from all different backgrounds. So I'll give an example of one of the schools that's done a really amazing job with their interdisciplinary team. So they've made sure to pull in students from the Black Student Union who were really critical of the way that the school responded during the protests and really wanted to be held accountable for the way that they were holding space for Black students and responding to the needs of Black students. So that school could have taken the easy way out and just included students who weren't critical of the way that they were doing things, but went out of their way to include students who were going to bring the perspective that was needed in order to make the emotional health environment valuable and safe for those students, particularly at a time of really high stress after the murder of George Floyd. Kind of going back to that concept of anti-racism, that if you can design spaces with Black students and with brown students, then you're more likely to create an environment that is anti-racist. So advocating for yourself, advocating for other students in your community, for programs that you think that will benefit you and that meet a need that you see in your school environment is a step towards bringing us in. And our website has information about JET High School. You can contact us through that website and it'll send an email straight to our inboxes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was my co-host, Mr. Barrington. Thank you very much. So shout out to everyone out there in the chat box. Keep those comments coming. We appreciate it. It's opening up a conversation. It's healing. I just love this. And I just see the youth in the chat box and it just makes my heart melt. Now let's talk about the importance of safe space. Allowing Black people to be vulnerable and build their power by fostering the belonging and healing and celebrating our culture, our identity. There are many organizations that actually hold this space in this region, many in which it actually includes mental health resources in the toolkit that you see now, I believe. Okay, I want to give a special shout out to these ones because to me these are essential resources. Yeah. Now, the Good Shepherd Youth Outreach, which serves in Auburn and Federal Way, and For Coalition and the Root of Our Youth. And of course, Jim, because they're out there in the South End doing the great work. And I want to just make sure we highlight them. Now, speaking of Jim now, Kendrick,
yes,
can you do me a favor and talk about the mentoring program and how we can still be able to make mentoring work during COVID? And thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you. I want to just say, first and foremost, shout out to me and Sir Keenan for really just doing an amazing job. Like, I'm just sitting and just listening to you guys, and it makes me smile inside and out, knowing
absolutely
we are in good hands with young people like
Agreed.
you.
Yes.
But for the organization that I serve, Glover Empowered Mentoring, we have a specialized program that is directly tied to 2 middle schools within the Kent School District. And in the Kent School District, we teach a class that's focused on trauma, which is a stem of mental health issues, right? And within that class, we teach young people about self-advocacy, social-emotional support. We talk about meditation and how to involve yourself in things to really give back to yourself where you feel others have taken away from you, because that's as well, which causes some of the issues that we see with young people. So GEM is a holistic.
Amen. Amen. What about you, Tony? Are you still how are you able to like make your programming mentoring work during COVID?
So we have set up within not only the district that I work in, but with my private practice, telehealth. So youth are able to access me via Skype. They can FaceTime, whichever they see fit. WhatsApp, I'm up to code on everything, social platforms, but just creating that space for youth and meeting them where they are. So they can access these resources, I think is very important. A lot of consultations that I've been having, they've been over the telephone, and we're having conversations like we are girlfriends, or we are long lost friends or family members, because my overall objective is to make sure that rapport is built with the youth. And I think that is a strategy that parents should use, as well as teachers or staff or people they interface with on a regular basis via virtual platforms. It's very important. And with that rapport, you can learn a lot. And sometimes I just sit on the phone and listen, because they have not had that space to be able to share out what they've been feeling. So making sure you're meeting them where they are, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Skype, FaceTime, but just being able to create that space is very important too.
I love the way you said that. I've been doing peer mentorship for almost 5 years, and it's always rule number 1: meet them where they're at. Because sometimes they don't know how to get out of that space. Now, sir, you are a part of GEM. Am I correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, talk to me about your experience with the program GEM.
My experience with GEM, with COVID and without COVID, has been really fun. But during COVID, one thing that GEM has done is where we have these meetings like every Wednesday and Thursday, and we just do like simple things, rather like watching a movie, baking, or just like catching up with each other and seeing how everybody's doing. Like I think it was last week, we watched American Skin, and we all did like a little survey about it. And like, every after the movie, we were just like talking about how we felt about it and everything. And like we felt like we're all still in that one building watching it, but we're from in our households and just chilling. Like we invite our family to watch it. So it was really fun. And like without COVID, we would do like fundraisers, and we'll just like one big family.
Good.
That is beautiful. I need to, we're going to make sure we put GEM in the chat box so you can make sure y'all check them out. I know that one of the things that and you brought up American Skin, and I want to make sure I put this out there for Mr. Glover and Ms. Tony. Like one of the big pieces that we deal with is this trauma of what's been happening with our community, with police and justice. And we see that they don't hear us, which sometimes can silence us. Sometimes can make us feel isolated. Sometimes it can silence our youth in more spaces. But what are some of the ways that you have dealt with coping with isolation? Because I think we're here for the youth, but I do want to know, as providers and mentors, it's very important to check our own self-care as well. So how have you been able to deal with it?
I mean, for me, it's practicing what you preach. The same thing I tell young people to do, I have to do it myself. I can't, say one thing and then do another. So I have to lead by example. So practicing that meditation, understanding who you are by being alone with oneself, and just finding different coping strategies to overcome any type of negative thoughts that you may be having. One thing that I have picked up is bike riding.
Like when I was a kid, I used to love riding my pedal bike. And now I went out and bought a nice bike. So I just go behind my house and hit the trail and ride the bike, you know? So it's just some of the things that I like to do. It's like, you know, just trying to, you know, get that healthy mind, healthy body, and then it creates healthy living.
That's right. Make me want to grab my bike. Now I'm gonna just go to Tony. Now I got to grab my bike tomorrow. Thank you.
I definitely agree with Mr. Glover. It's all about practicing what you preach, because you can't live it. You cannot live it if that's what you are emphasizing to the youth. So for me, it's making sure that I'm starting my day with yoga practices and ending my day with yoga practices. I actually have a Black yoga instructor that is great. So you can access her via Zoom. And so with that, I'm able to make sure I'm grounding myself, that I'm making sure my chakras are in line, and that I'm getting myself together for not only going to bed, but getting myself ready for the day in the morning as well. Making sure my diet is intact. So making sure I'm eating those fruits and vegetables, those leafy greens during meals, just so I'm making sure I'm balanced, because it's easy with COVID-19 and being isolated to, you know, snack on junk, right? And watch your Netflix, but making sure that you are in tune still, that getting out, exercising, making sure you're journaling and writing down your thoughts, because I think everybody's journal is going to be so juicy, because COVID-19 has been, it's been a mess for everybody in some way, shape, or form. Someone has gone through something that they did not expect for 2019 or 20 to bring to them, and then now going into 2021. So making sure you're using those outlets, and also reflecting and connecting back with family. For me, COVID-19 forced me to slow down, because I was constantly on the go, constantly busy, constantly having activities, constantly having, you know, engagements that I had to fulfill or work that I need to complete. That when COVID hit in March 2020, I had to sit still for at least 4 to 6 weeks, and I had never done that before. And I didn't know what to do with myself until I started to reflect, you know, connecting back with family, returning phone calls, text messages. It forced you to reconnect and to kind of realign with what your overall objective in life may be.
Oh, that's so real. You know, I just, and thank you both. And I know I'll say it again, but I just want to let you both know that I really appreciate what you do. And we know that kids are just dealing with so much right now, like homelessness, addiction, death of a loved one, personal identity, sexuality through tough situations, friends, family. And then your own self-care comes into that space. So we're going to step into the space of just kind of talking a little bit about like stigma in the spaces of with mental health. Not mental health, but mental healing. I'll say that, you know. So I'll do Kendrick and Sir Keenan. How do we crack through the boys versus men? You got to be tough, like that myth and misconception to support mental wellness. You know how we kind of like stigmatize men and just like, well, you have to be this way. Well, Black men don't do mental health. We don't do that. We don't need to talk about our feelings. I was literally just mimicking my twin brother, okay?
No, I think for us at GM, when we work with our young men, especially during our summer program, which is a 5-week daily intensive program for 6 hours a day. And Sir Keenan had the honor of being in that program for the last 3 summers now, going on 4. We just talk about who we are as men. It's all about the 3 I's, as we call them: informing, interacting, and inspiring. So we telling our stories. We telling our stories from a unique, transparent position, and not just trying to fluff them up and gloat about them, but we're telling them from a standpoint of like, hey, I've made some mistakes. And the reason why is because I thought I was too hard on the outside to show that I was really vulnerable on the inside. And for me, I think my therapy one-on-one comes from directly talking to these young people like Sir Keenan and getting out some of the feelings that I have. I mean, I think last summer they saw me cry for the first time, and they'd never seen me cry, because it was one of those things where I lost a loved one, and it just hit me, and I was wow, I have all these emotions built up in me. And it goes back to that boiling point that I was talking about. As men, we hold so much in because we think we macho and like we don't want to really like explain ourselves or even like, have communication with someone else because we don't want to feel weak. We don't want to feel less than, but I think the power within us comes from when we express ourselves outwardly to someone else to say, you know what, I'm hurting. I need some help. I'm not thinking about harming myself, but I do think about, the what ifs, like, what if something happens to me and I'm not around for my baby girls? Those are the things that I think about. And then it causes some of those, those ideas and thoughts. And it's like, okay, maybe it's time to, sit down and talk to someone. So for us in our program, just having that open dialogue and communication about any and everything is something that helps us break that barrier from being a boy to a man.
I love that. The 3 I's. I'm gonna have to write those down. Thank you so much. Now, Tony, I'm just full disclaimer. I grew up in church with Tony, so but there's something that I know that you can answer. So, like, let's talk about believability issues when it comes to young people, especially young women. Of course, the parents don't know how to listen up. Why is it important for parents to take their children seriously when they say that something might be wrong with them?
Yeah, I think it all derived back to the whole notion of I'm the parent, you're the kid, and kind of dispelling that stigma and being able to actually have open, transparent conversations with your kids about their feelings. And that starts when you're raising them. Just like you mentioned with the Black boys having to be macho and they're not being able to be vulnerable or to express their emotions. Let's start with raising them to say it's okay if something hurt their feeling. It's okay to cry. It's okay to say certain situations you're not comfortable with, but not projecting this stereotype onto our Black girls and Black boys that they have to be strong and they have to persevere no matter what. Sometimes you have to sit in those feelings and it's okay. And you have to process those feelings as well, because if you're not processing, what are you doing with them? Like Mr. Glover mentioned, you're stuffing them, you're compartmentalizing them, and they show up in different ways, whether it is a minor argument you may have at the schoolhouse or with your parents. It will come back up, but it won't come back in a productive way. So making sure we're normalizing having tough conversation and uncomfortable conversations. Parents, making sure you're listening and asking open-ended questions to your kids at an early age so that you're normalizing these conversations as they matriculate and get older, to where they're coming to you when something feels uncomfortable or they're feeling a way about something. A lot of parents are missing the signs of depression, seasonal depression, anxiety, what that looks like, because it shows up in our Black kids differently than it may in our white counterparts. So making sure you're having those conversations about what is making you feel this way, and pausing and waiting for an answer instead of filling in the blanks for them. So asking those questions, coming up with solutions, as well as setting goals in regards to when those symptoms come up or those feelings come up, what are we going to do together collaboratively instead of as individuals? So making sure you're having those conversations with your youth and creating the norm from an early age that they can come to you and talk to you about anything.
The thing that you said is just that I love how you said you ask the question and then you pause, because so many parents just can be so reactive to tell their children, no, you feel this way, sorry, that brought back some
no, it definitely does. And I mean, if you are a 70s or 80s baby, you know that you could not verbalize your feelings in the moment of having a debate with your parents, because they're the parents, you're the kid. You got to shut up and listen. But if we take that component away, there would have been a lot of proactive situations rather than reactive situations if parents would have listened to what was going on with their children instead of assuming and making assumptions. Because if the rapport is built early on, like I mentioned, when they're growing up, then you're going to get the answers you need. You just got to wait for it. Poker face and all, I don't care how much, it makes you cringe, but you'll get the information you need, but you have to be okay with that silence being there throughout the conversation too.
Tony, thank you. I got to write that to my sister. Pause. But no. Okay, so Sir Keenan, I want to kind of trail back to the question that I asked Mr. Glover. Like, do you ever feel pressure to be tough? How do you deal with that? Because I know you play sports, and is there always just a space where you always have to be tough? Like, you can't talk about. Do you feel that way in the spaces of like the kids you go to school with, or the after school? Well, I know not at gym because he don't play. You interact in that space, but do you feel that you have to just always be tough?
One of the biggest places I feel like I have to be tough sometimes is kind of just in like the real world, like just like outside of my home or outside of like those clubs I do with the people that I'm close with. It's like, I remember I was reading this poem that was like, we put on 2 masks in a day or something like that. They said the one for yourself and the one for the real world. And like, I know how that feels because like, I feel like sometimes I have to be tougher than people think I am when people like walk up to me, because like, I don't look my age a lot. So a lot of people try to check me about it. So I was like, all right, if you're going to buck up on me, I'm going to do the same to you. Then like places I feel like I could be myself at are like home, gym, or like with my school counselor or something when they just checking up on me or something.
Thank you very much. Now, Mia, I do want to ask you too. Have you ever went through like a space of like with maybe like other adults, such as teachers, when it comes down to like being heard? Do you feel heard? I know that one of the things that we were really honing in on, that I always kept on like putting on my Facebook post and in Twitter, like, stop silencing Black women. Do you feel that at sometimes people try to silence you?
I would say I do. I feel like something that my parents taught me at a young age is that sometimes no one's going to want to listen to your voice, and that's not okay. So you have to walk into the room like you own it. You even if you don't know what's going on, you don't know what's happening, where you're at, walk in like you own it and you know what's happening. And that has been my mindset since before I can remember. So even in moments where I can feel the tension and the uncomfortableness of people knowing I am a Black girl and they are scared of me, I don't back down. I speak my truth, and that's all that truly matters. And so when I do feel those moments where I feel unheard, I try to like break free of that mindset and say like, I'm meant to be here, I belong here, so let me speak and I will speak. So I would say like I try not to back down and listen to, oh, your voice wasn't heard, because I deserve to have my voice heard, and every single person deserves to have their voice heard.
Thank you. I mean, that's some Black girl magic right there. I just love that. Walk into the room and you own it. That's so key. And while we're on this subject too, let's take a look at some local organizations that provide Black girls with ways to cope with their life challenges.
Hi, everyone. My name is Taya Carlisle, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm the program coordinator at Young Women Empowered, and we offer a variety of different programs, whether it's land-based or art-based, where we try to cultivate a community of belonging for young people, young girls, 13 to 18. And we're here with Eridan. Eridan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Eridan, she, her pronouns, and I'm 16. I've been with YWE for about 5 years, mostly in nature connections. And I've also done Why We Write and Why We Create, which are 2 weekend-long or week-long retreats that are just like being in space with other people from YWE and just like doing art and stuff. And it's always so cool.
Eridan, can you talk a little bit about nature connections? What is it and how it's affected your life?
I think nature connections has been one of the most important things for me for the past 5 years, because it's very good for my emotional and mental health, because it's like an escape from like all the bustle and stress of like school and, you know, politics and city. It's like just this beautiful community of other, you know, femmes of color, people of color in general, and people my age who are like weird like me and artistic like me, just coming together to like appreciate nature and appreciate each other too. And it just makes for this beautiful safe space where I can just be myself and relax and, you know, be a part of nature and also like learn how to camp and stuff.
And a little bit more about how we're doing Nature Connections now in the time of COVID is we've added a farm component. So we've been growing food out of Mara Farms in South Park. And then with the food and the produce that we grow, we give back to the South Park community because they do experience food apartheid, where there's no full service grocery store nearby. And so doing a lot of mutual aid work in connection with Nature Connections program. And that too has been really healing and another way to make outdoor spaces more accessible. What has been your most favorite memory from YWE?
It was the first time I had ever like snowshoed, and we went to Mount Rainier, and we went around this one like cliff corner where the sun was just shining right on there, and it made the snow like sparkle, and we sat there in a snowbank and like ate lunch together and laughed and, you know, just appreciated the beauty and nature around us. It was just great. It was so fun. One of my favorite things about YWE is the way the community like takes care of each other, you know, like you never feel excluded and you never feel left behind. You always feel like there's a place for you to thrive and be yourself and be creative and be appreciated. Thank you.
That was so good. That was just so beautiful. I think one of the things about it is like gender isn't binary, and people that identify, I remember just growing up and not really having a grasp on what it looked like. I knew what it was like. I'm Black first, so that's the one thing, right? But it was another thing of just learning that I exist, and I exist as being a part of the LGBTQ community. So and I know that youth now, as we just heard, like they're so empowered, but they still go through stigma. They still go through hurt and isolation. So for Tony and Mr. Glover, what are ways that we or parents who may have a child who is LGBTQ or gender non-binary, what are ways that we can start having a conversation on healing, on showing up for those youth?
Well, I think the conversation needs to start with throwing stereotypes in the garbage and trashing them. And I'm just going to be candid. Making sure you're having those conversations with your youth about what supports do they need from you as a parent, because that's going to look different whether you're mom or dad, or if they need you to assist them in finding resources too, so they have those safe space or their community around them too. So making sure that you're letting them know you don't love them any less by what they're identifying as, and they're still your daughter or your son, and nobody can take that away. And I think that is validating for our LGBTQX community, because they don't feel that on a normal basis. And I think we need to start normalizing that and get in the swing of having those conversations, making sure they're recognized, making sure that it's in curriculum in schools, making sure that the representation is there as well. So not alienating that community just based on the differences, because at the end of the day, we're all humans, right? So the representation, just like we have initiatives to make sure that we have a certain amount of African Americans or Blacks in spaces, we need to make sure we're doing the same thing for our LGBTQX community as well. And so why is that any different? So making sure that we're normalizing it within our household and not making it a thing, but it is a thing because there is a difference, right? So I think the conversations definitely need to be open. Parents need to be more forthcoming about areas that they need to learn more in. And I think that will be the step in the right direction to make sure that our youth are feeling more comfortable about coming out to who they are or as to who they are, and not waiting until they're well into adulthood, because that is stifling within itself.
Absolutely. Mr. Glover?
Yeah, I think as Tony said, just having those open-ended conversations and parents not being naive about young people's sexual preferences. I talk to parents all the time, and I just let them know, like, the generation that's here now is so technology savvy. It's so much that they see and they hear without us even having to teach them ourselves as parents. And I know that because I have a 15-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old daughter, and the conversations they have with each other without me being present, and I'm just overhearing them. I'm like, oh no, I didn't talk to you guys about that. Like, hold up, So for me, as a parent, it's just me, being able to be open and have those conversations with both of my girls. But I can definitely tell you this. I grew up in Mississippi. Having a conversation about the opposite sex, especially when they were a conversation like that, was not something that we had often. It goes back to that man being macho. Like, no, you cannot talk like that around us. That's something that we're not going to do. And it wasn't until, unfortunately, 15 years ago that I moved to Seattle, and I had an opportunity to really see how it affected people. Because we don't get to see that down south like we get to see it here in a broader city. So it gave me an opportunity to shut my mouth, open my ears, open my eyes, and open my understanding to some of the things that other people may be going through and how it affects them on a daily basis. So it's not to feel sorry for anyone. It's just to really be able to empathize with them and say, you know what? I was wrong, and I too can now understand, and I can say that and just learn, and then be able to provide those resources for both parents and students.
Right. And I encourage, and thank you both for answering that question, but I also encourage parents, even though you don't know, feel free to reach out. There are resources. That's what the toolkit is there for. It's all about inclusivity, especially when you're Black and brown in these spaces. We don't want to leave anyone out. So I hope this discussion inspires anyone out there to share a story, actually on the Wellbeing Story Wall. Take a look at how you can be a part of the conversation.
The We Are Wellbeings Story Wall is a central part of the wellbeings.org website, social media platform, and the Wellbeings National Tour. We are asking the public of all ages to submit personal reflections, videos, photos, and short stories to offer hope, to foster understanding, to build community, and break down stigma.
What does being well mean to you? What is the one thing you wish people knew about mental health? What is your passion? What's your story?
Video can easily be submitted via social media using the hashtag #wellbeings or emailed to info@wellbeings.org.
Stories can also be submitted by uploading to Dropbox and live at Wellbeings Tour events. The We Are Wellbeing Story Wall is made possible through generous support provided by Wellbeing's Youth Mental Health Project founding corporate sponsor Otska and Wellbeing's media partner People.
Beautiful. Now, Mia, let me ask you a question, Mia. What does your support system look like?
So I would say it's like a beautiful space. I have my family who loves me. I have my friends who they truly want the best for me, and they want to see me succeed, and I want to see them succeed. I have my school who truly wants you to learn and grow and wants you to do more, which you don't see a lot because I go to Cleveland High School. But they love you. Like, and I think that's what you really need at school, for your just teachers, the educators to love you. And then I have like my extracurriculars. I do dance. I'm in the Delta Gems. I'm in ASB at my school. Like, I'm in these activities, and they just open these spaces for me to feel safe and valued. So I'm really lucky that I like signed up and just said, I'm gonna try something new, and it made me feel heard, like we were talking about before. And I think that's what I really needed, especially as a Black girl, just to feel safe in a space with other people who can connect with things on like me.
Oh my God, your resume is longer than mine. I'm telling you, you are on your way, Mia. That is amazing. So Keenan, let me ask you too, what does your support system look like?
My support system looks like, well, one thing that I've learned from gym was like my power circle. So I finally learned to see who's in it. Yes. And like, I was to say some people that are really in it, it's going to be my dad at first.
Oh, wow.
My grandma, and my stepmom. Because those three are like the three main people that have always been in my life, making sure that I stay on track. And if I'm not doing something right, they'll check me about and be like, you're doing this a little wrong. And they won't just call me out about it, but they'll actually help me with it and see like, oh, all right, now I understand. Then outside of them, I got gym, my old middle school. Like, they paid for my school laptop to be able to be part of O-Day, because we're a Surface Pro, like, technology school. And my old school paid for mine. They're like, here, because we want to push into your learning, all that. So I was really thankful about that.
That's amazing. And you do that, and you work too. Where do you work at again? Where'd you say you do? What is it that you do on the weekends with your dad?
Oh, I do Mo Vegan.
Okay, what is Mo Vegan? Okay, so that's a vegan truck, right? And you do that on the weekends. So y'all got all these jobs, and y'all doing all this stuff. And see, in high school, well, actually, I won't get into who I was in high school, but you guys, you motivate me. I think it's so amazing, you know. And I just wanted to. I also want to make sure that we talk about community and how to better support youth with dealing with mental health issues and healing circles. So, Mia and Sir Keenan, like, what do your peers need, or what do we need to do right now to support those needs?
Would you like to go first?
No, you can go.
What a gentleman. What a gentleman. Do you hear that? Is that what you teach in gyms?
That's what we teach. Yeah, we're teaching it. Chivalry is not dead.
So Mia, you first.
Okay, thank you. I would say it always goes back to education. Like, I always like to say, like, education is power. Like, it truly does shape where you go. And one thing I would say is my school has restorative justice, and we do restorative justice circles. And I think implementing that K through 12, every single school around the world, like in Washington, everywhere, I just think that it's so beneficial, because you get the opportunity to discuss your issues, but also in a way that is respectful and can help you grow and be able to do that as you become an adult and become an older person. And I think it's such a beautiful way. And I think we just need that in our schools and in our communities too. But I would just say restorative justice.
Amazing. I got to write that down. Now, Sir Keenan, what can we do to support you?
Say that again.
No, I said, what can we do? What can your peers do? And what can we do to make sure that we're meeting the needs of community and healing from people either dealing with mental health or people that just need support?
I'll say something pretty simple that a lot of people don't really think about. What you really put into your body, like what type of food you eat, because you are what you eat. And if you're just eating a whole bunch of junk food and all of that, you're gonna be super moody throughout the day. Just hecka mad at everyone because you're like, oh, I'm super tired. I don't feel like messing with you right now. But like, if you're like taking care of like what's in your body and all of that, you're like, all right, let me make sure I eat this because I know it's gonna make me more energetic. So if something happens, I'm able to think and just instead of being all mad at it. So just like making sure you watch what you put in your body and all of that. That's something that we can all do and will make us all better.
Amazing. And you're vegan, right?
Yes.
Oh, that is amazing. That's a lot. That's some discipline.
Yeah,
it is.
I was going to go to Wendy's after this, but you know what? I won't do that. I will. Now, let me ask the adults. Tony and Kendrick, how can adults be more supportive?
For me, I think just being that listening ear and connecting is very important with our youth. And that can go as far as making sure you are having time carved out in the evening to debrief with your youth about their day. Check in to see if there's any problems that they need suggestions on, or just listening, or it's just talk time. We can do whatever, but this is the space that we can have conversations about what you need. Also, making sure that we are normalizing feelings and being in our feelings, and communicating when we're in our feelings and what we're feeling and why we're feeling that. I think within families, a lot of times there's this norm of, okay, as long as everybody is keeping in their corner and nobody's invading any other person's space, then everybody's all good. But in all actuality, that may be a tall tale sign that there's some issues going on there when people aren't coming out of their space. If, you know, your youth is in their phone more often than none, or in the room, or not eating or drinking water, but making sure you're picking up on those small context clues to kind of check in and see what's going on. Especially with COVID-19 times, a lot of schools are not back in full time in their activities, but also making sure that you're supporting your youth in getting out and moving too, because that exercise piece assists in balancing the chemicals in the brain. And a lot of depression is warded off by physical activity. And a lot of youth have not been able to get out and do that because of COVID-19. So creating those spaces to where you're being, again, proactive rather than reactive, but also making sure you're being very intentional on what you're giving your youth support wise, just to make sure that you're being in a space to make sure that they know they're supported.
Right. And I'm going to just switch gears real quick, because I'm seeing the chat. Several people in the chat said mental health education and support in schools needs to be changed to be culturally relevant, not white focused. So I'm going to ask Mr. Glover, how can schools better support mental health?
I think it starts with the budget, making sure that they have enough resources to bring in more counseling staff, especially more mental health staff that are trained professionals to come into the school. And if the resources in terms of the budget from the school district or the school is not there, then you have community partners and agencies that are out there that are looking for ways to come into schools and do work. Gym, and it's free of service because we write grants to go into schools to do this exact work. But sometimes so much red tape around schools and not being able to allow, agencies to come into the building for one reason or another to provide these services, that our young kids are being hurt the most. I heard this African proverb once that says, when two elephants are fighting, the grass loses. And that's the same thing with our young people in education, in our community. When adults are steady nitpicking at one another, they're not the ones that lose. It's our young people. So I encourage parents to use the 80-20 rule when you're talking to your kids. Do 80% of the listening and 20% of the talking, because then when they feel like they're heard, they're going to talk more. You're going to hear things that you've never heard before, and you're going to wow yourself on some of the things that your kids are going to tell you without you even having to ask those questions. So I definitely encourage and employ that 80-20 rule, even with myself, because I have to practice what I preach. And I like to talk a lot, so my kids are always mad at me.
Yeah. And Deontay, just to piggyback off of Mr. Glover too, making sure that our school districts are mandating social emotional learning within their curriculum is important too. That is something that a lot of districts don't want to mandate because they feel as though teachers aren't going to do it with fidelity. But if that is going to be an expectation, making sure that they're trained to know how to do it and connect with their students, because social emotional learning is essential, and social emotional skills and how to regulate yourself is something that students take on into the real world too, into society. So that social emotional learning piece is very, very imperative, and it needs to be in the classrooms on a daily basis. So there's a sense of community built. So students feel comfortable going to their teachers and divulging information where they need additional resources.
I love that. Training. And here we are. So I want to make sure that we get everyone to get their last words or words of encouragement. You four are amazing. I just want to make sure that I want to hear last words coming from Miss Mia. What would you like to?
I guess I would say to the youth watching, you are heard, you are loved, and your voice truly does matter. So please use it, speak up, don't back down, because you are wonderful and you're going to make change.
Amen. Excuse me, Ashe. Sir Keenan?
I would say just start getting active into things that you want to try. Don't be afraid to be judged about it. Because I got into a play somehow at old day, and I would never think I would be in a play. But it ended up being really fun, and I'm really liking it so far.
Nice.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Mr. Glover.
Yeah, something that I tell my young people all the time, including young sir, is that you are more than your worst mistake. So never think that just because you made one mistake, that life is going to stop there. There's always an opportunity for a next chance, not just a second chance. And that's something that my pastor preaches on a lot. But also to the parents out there, I really encourage you to listen to your young people and do more listening than you do talking. Because as they say, that's why we have 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, kids, don't turn and tell your parents that like right now. but write it down on a piece of paper or have them watch this and just have it come from an adult.
Right.
But Miss Tony.
Yes, one thing I just want to leave everyone with, especially our youth, do not sacrifice your core. If you know within your hearts of your hearts who you are as a person, do not waver on that. And don't be afraid to show your true colors and don't dim your light to make others feel comfortable. And that is something, if you learn right now, you won't have to learn it in adulthood. And so it's better that you are standing very firm on your principles right now. You're advocating for yourself and you're speaking up for what you need. Don't ever let anyone make you feel as though your needs don't need to be met. So stay true to self and don't sacrifice your core.
Don't sacrifice your core. Thank y'all so much. We covered quite a bit and we're almost out of time. On behalf of KCTS 9 and the Wellbeings Tour created by WETA, I'd like to thank our incredible panelists. Thank you also to our national partners and sponsors, as well as local partners in Western Washington. Please remember to visit the Wellbeings website at www.wellbeings.org/KCTS to download the free Wellbeings Mental Health Resource Toolkit that provides local and national support resources. While there, give us your feedback on this event by filling out the survey. Now, I'd like to show you a preview from the upcoming Ken Burns documentary, Hiding in Plain Sight, which will air spring 2022. The film is a look at the experiences of young people living with mental health conditions with a focus on the importance of awareness and compassion. It'll shine a clear light on what life is like for these young people, as well as their parents, teachers, friends, and healthcare providers in their lives. Now, trigger warning. The video contains people talking about their experiences with mental illness, self-harm, and suicide. It may be difficult for some. Thank you again for being here tonight for the important conversation. Please take care.
The only thing I know how to do is to share my own story and my own experience. I can't tell anyone what they can't see for themselves. But I can tell them what it was like for me, what happened to me, and what it's like now that I have recognized my own illness.
It was something in the back of my head, really. It was not something that I didn't really worry about.
My dad was an alcoholic, and just like the anxiety of him coming home at night.
It's a strange thing to look back on and think to myself, I really didn't care about anything at that point.
I remember a lot of nights where I would sit in my bed and cry, like for hours after hours.
I felt a lot of pain inside, and I couldn't explain that. I couldn't relay that to other people outside.
The feeling is like walking through, it's like being pulled down, being pulled into like quicksand.
It affects my daily life all day, every day.
To go to school, you know, you put on a face, a facade, you're happy, you're bubbly, and then you eat lunch alone in the bathroom.
I started to self-harm. I learned it in a book that I read.
I'm tired of the voices. I'm tired of everybody labeling me and saying that I'm crazy.
What happens to people with a serious mental illness is that, just like a serious cancer, it begins to metastasize. It turns into disability.
I remember waking up and being in the psych ward and being like, what am I doing here? I had a very high opinion of myself.
It gets complicated by substance abuse.
Drugs and alcohol worked very well for me because they took that anxiety that I had and that sense of isolation, and they eliminated those things.
Drugs and drinking, and that was kind of my excuse, like that outside excuse to match up that feeling of powerlessness inside.
When I finally did start to think oh, I'm probably an addict, I was like, no, you're just lying to yourself, you know?
When the suicide rate goes up, nobody even knows about it.
I still had a whole future that I had planned, you know. It's like I was planning the suicide, but at the same time, you know, I was making plans to go out to the movies with my friends the next week.
My life was gonna end one way, and that was being addicted to drugs, so why not start now?
I wasn't meant to be on this earth.
Long sleeves, no one knew what was on my wrist.
It was actually on social media. These boys were harassing me about something I did. I couldn't deal with it anymore. Yeah, I actually went through with it. I actually tried to hurt myself.
Those are the moments where I have the best opportunity to plant a seed in someone else's mind. The fact of the matter is, if you don't show some vulnerability, if you don't speak honestly, then there's no truth. And if there's no truth, there's no connection.
It's taken me a very, very long time to even speak openly about it. I think there's a lot of pressure in being vulnerable, especially now with social media and everyone judging you. My roommates don't even know half of this stuff that I'm telling you guys now. And I'm nervous, I'm kind of shaking inside to even talk about it. But if I can even reach 2 people from everything I say or this story, then I did my part in this world.
We don't understand how common it is. We don't understand how important it is to talk about it and be open about it. So this is the problem that we all deal with in secret. And the result is that we don't deal with it well.